this particular session, we are going to discuss one tool. It is not only it is not the discussion of that particular tool only, because in Google Classroom the facility is available, and Dr. Jagriti Sanvi ma'am already covered that rubric can be designed by the faculty by the use of Google Classroom. So what we are going to cover in this particular class is what are the different aspects that we need to consider when we are designing rubric as an evaluation tool. So when we are using different online platforms, it is not that they are giving us a practice related to the pedagogical aspects of any process or phenomena. We need to have understanding, we need to have information related to that, how it is possible for me to design reliable and a valid tool. So when it comes to the student assessment and evaluation, it is possible for us to design different kind of rubric sheet at departmental level, and then those rubric sheet can be used either in offline learning environment or either in online learning environment. So in this particular session, I'm going to provide you the different details that we need to consider while designing a rubric as an evaluation tool. So dear members, kindly confirm that whether my PowerPoint presentation is also available with all of you. Yes, dear members, kindly confirm whether my PowerPoint is available with all of you. Yes, any member connected with me? Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much, Indrajit Saha sir. So when it comes to the design of a rubric tool, the one thing that I would like to make very clear to all the faculty members, that rubric is designed at departmental level. There are many of the faculty members said that we use rubric and we design rubric, and they individually design this particular criteria for their classroom task and classroom activities. When you're designing a rubric for assessment purposes, individual teacher can design that particular criteria. But if you are using that rubric sheet for evaluation purposes, in that particular case at departmental level, as per the criteria, as per the guidelines provided by the board and university, we need to design rubric sheet. So once, say for example, in your department, if head of department giving you an responsibility to design rubric as a tool for evaluating student performance, one or two faculty members can take initiative to design that rubric. Once that rubric sheet is prepared by those faculty members, that rubric sheet need to be distributed among all the faculty members of department. And after getting input from all the departmental faculty, the head of department need to approve that as an final evaluation tool, and then only we can use rubric as a tool for student evaluation purposes. So point of discussion is, whenever it is not only for the rubric, any of the evaluation tool, when it is designed at departmental level, its reliability and validity need to be confirmed from all the departmental faculty. Once the department agreed upon that particular criteria, only then that evaluation tool need to be used in uh, department for student evaluation purposes. So in this particular session, we are going to cover what we mean by rubric, what is its important for evaluating the student performance, what can be the probable types of rubric the teacher can design, what is the standard format we use for the design of the rubric, and what are the different steps that we need to consider when it comes to design rubric as an evaluation tool. So when it comes to, before I start on this particular topic, I know you have already covered this particular topic, that is assessment concept, types and characteristics, that is delivered by Dr. Paramjit Kaur Tulsi ma'am. And in that lecture, you all come to know that when it comes to assessment, why we assess our student performance. Our purpose is to collect information on student learning. But my question to all the members available with me in this particular group, what are the different techniques or what are the different strategies adopted by all of you to collect information as well as student learning is concerned? Any member from the group, how you collect information related to student learning at your department? Yes, any member from the group? Asking questions. Thank you very much, sir, for the reply. How we collect information, as rightly added by Sir, we ask questions in classrooms. So, say for example, if the teacher is using a traditional approach and selected an instructional method, that is lecture method. So, in that particular method, when the teacher is asking questions to the student, and even if the teacher is using advanced teaching strategies, by the use of those teaching strategies also, it is possible for the teacher to collect information related to the student learning. Say, when I'm organizing my classes using a technique or a teaching strategy that is numbered head together, think, pair, share, jigsaw method. I give case study analysis to my student, role play, simulation based teaching strategy. So, all these teaching strategies help me not only to cover the content given in the curriculum, but at the same time, these teaching strategies help me to understand the level of my students available with me in my class. These advanced teaching strategies help me to understand that up to what extent my students are able to be the part of this particular learning environment. The teacher also designed different kind of test also, so written test, viva voce, and for the skill related activity, the teacher also conduct many performance related tests at departmental level. So when we said assessment means to aspire to sit with, we are in the process of collecting information on student learning, and as per the choice of the teacher and as per the demand of that particular subject, the teacher can collect information using different ways and means. So, after assessing the performance of the student throughout a semester, why we are assessing students again and again? Because as a faculty, we want our students to improve upon. As a faculty, I want a more quality product need to be produced by my student. Or at the end of the semester, whatever instructions, whatever activity task that I have specifically designed for my student, those task activities and other instructional thing help my student to reach or approach to the level of excellence as far as that subject mastery is concerned. That is why in day to day basis we assess the performance of our student, and these kind of assessment help us to make certain instructional decisions also. But at the end of the semester and in technical education system, when evaluation is divided into two different part, that is internal evaluation and external examination result, as far as our evaluation is concerned, we are passing a final judgment to the student related to their performance. Say, for example, say simple example, say I have given a presentation skill activity to my diploma level student. Same activity I assigned to bachelor level student and then to master level and then to PhD level student. The activity is presentation. So student need to give a presentation to me for a topic assigned. For diploma level student, I may say that those students need time to improve upon. So I will give them corrective actions. I will provide them corrective and descriptive kind of a feedback so that next time when they're performing this kind of the similar kind of an activity, these are the different factors they need to consider. As compared to diploma level, if I'm giving this activity to bachelor's level student, to my BE and BTech level students, I expect those students to give presentation better as compared to diploma holders. But say for example, a PhD doctorate level student who is giving presentation related to the research, he or she carrying at departmental level, and if that student is not able to present that information, so for that particular student, there is a very minimal time available with that candidate to improve upon as far as presentation skill is concerned. So that is a point of concern. that even at the higher level of qualification education, if that person is not able to deliver something in front of audiences, it means on a serious note we need to give these kind of activities a lot to that particular candidate, that within the formal education system he or she must be able to, and he or she must be confident enough to present information or present the work in front of audiences. So I'm passing final judgment to that doctorate level student that your presentation is not good, you need to improve upon. Or I am going to give 0 marks for this particular presentation, because at this level I'm not expecting that the students are presenting by using these kind of skills. So I'm passing judgment to that particular student, and based on the judgment passed by us, there are certain decisions that we are making. So those decisions are not only that the teacher is going to change a teaching strategy, or teacher is going to change the media so that students can improve upon, but at the same time the management of that institute may need to based on the evaluation results they are obtaining as far as their student performance is concerned. So if in a class students are not able to get good score in a final examination, head of department or the higher authorities of that institute need to go deeper into that, why this particular semester students are not able to pass external examination paper, why internal evaluation marks are so less for these group of students. So there are certain studies or certain parameters that we need to identify, that why these students are not able to do good in a given subject. So it may be a question to the teaching effectiveness, it may be question to the policies and practices followed at departmental level, it may be question to the student ability, his or her aptitude, IQ abilities. So there are certain things that we need to evaluate, because with the help of evaluation we are passing a final judgment not only to the student performance, but it is also a question on teacher effectiveness and teaching activities that is followed at institute level. Because throughout the semester there we involved our student in assessment practices. It is the teacher who, after delivering the information to the student, conduct number of tests that are of different nature. So we do many of the things so that students can improve upon, and if after evaluation student is not able to perform up to the mark, this is a question on that departmental activity, what they are performing, the level of the student, the nature of the subject, the teaching method and media selected by the teacher. So what kind of practices is being followed at departmental level that students are not able to get good score. So that is a question. So when I'm saying that what judgment do you make when I given a statement that he got 60 marks out of 100. So one may said that maybe the paper is complex, or maybe the questions that is given in that particular exam, a written exam, is not up to the level, or they are bit difficult as compared to the level of the student. Students are not able to get 80 marks or 90 marks, but at least they are able to pass that particular subject. Another may say, from this general statement, another judgment remark may be the student aptitude ability is not very high, that is why the student is not able to get good score. Third teacher may say that student is able to get 60 marks only because the teacher who is dealing with this particular subject, their subject is very much new for that teacher also. So with the help of evaluation there are certain kind of judgments that we are making, and we need to understand that why we need these kind of tools in evaluation system in our technical institutions. So for this we need to understand that where we are heading in assessment. I remember on the very first day of this particular program, where we have covered the topic online learning concept types and characteristics, we uh, taken up a question that in education where we are heading. And in the last session of this particular program, I'm again asking you the statement that where we are heading in assessment. So we need to inline our assessment practices as per new education policy. 2020 is promoting continuous assessment at institute level. And they are specifically mentioning that assessment must be regular, it must be formative and competency based, promote learning and development of the student. So, when in the session we said, in the previous session on Tuesday, we said students nowadays demand a competition, but at the same time, they are collaborating with each other, they are cooperating with each other for the completion of different activities or different tasks that is given by the teacher. When we are saying the competency based assessment need to be there, but at the same time promote learning and development of the student, it means whenever the teacher is designing an activity or teacher is giving a task to the student, that task must be a target specific task. So when I'm saying target specific tasks, the teacher is not giving task or activity just for the sake of completion of the policy laid down by the department. Whenever the teacher is designing task and activity, the target must be very clear with that particular faculty. So for example, to my class students, if I'm giving written assignment again and again to me, so my learning objective is very much clear. I'm giving written assignment again and again. I want my student to synthesize information and then present information in a written form, in a logical manner. So that is why I am giving them written assignment again and again. If I want my student to do research related activity, my learning objective is very much clear to me as a faculty. So when I'm saying my student must be able to do some sort of a research project in a given semester, so maybe I'm giving an task or I'm giving an activity where the student need to involve in a minor project based activity. When I want my student to develop higher order thinking skill, it means the critical thinking, analysis ability, or the conceptual clarity need to be available with my student. For testing higher order thinking skill, what kind of task, what kind of activity? So it may be a ill structured problem given to my student where they need to reframe that particular problem and then find out the solution of that particular problem. So maybe once in a while in my written test, or when I'm conducting a viva voce, or when I'm interacting with my student in a laboratory environment or in tutorial group, I'm giving these kind of statements to my student. Maybe for a theoretical subject, I'm giving a open ended kind of statements to my students so that they can research upon for the given topic and come with the conclusion. Their analysis, critical thinking and conceptual clarity can be enhanced. So new education policy is saying whenever we are assessing the performance of the student, our major objective need to be to develop lifelong learning skills among students, and we are here for the testing of higher order thinking skills among student. So when assessment is of this nature, it will help entire education system in revising continuously teaching learning processes to optimize learning. So in the very first slide, when we said assessment is to collect information and teacher are using different ways to collect information, and from this particular slide it is clear to us that if assessment is continuous by nature, it helps us to streamline different activities that is being designed by the teacher, followed by the teacher for the student population. Because when we are in class with our student, it is only the faculty who is interacting with the student. Students are mindful for the activities that is designed by the teacher and given by the teacher to them. Students are not thinking about the policies or the thinking about the practices that is followed by or defined by the management. It is only the faculty who is directly in link with the student, and teacher is going to design that education system or the learning environment at institute level that helps student to obtain learning while available with the teacher in the institute and out of the class also, when the teacher is able to create independent path of learning for the student. Why we are integrating technology? Because we know knowledge is available, there are information is available on different resources, abundance of resources available with us nowadays. We need not to create content again and again, content is already available. What we need to do is to revise teaching learning practices. What we need to do is we need to map the content that is available, utilize that content for the student population, and make your assessment not only on a regular basis but make your assessment competent enough so that you are able to develop higher order thinking skill among student population. So it is the teacher who is going to fulfill all the criterias. It is the teacher who is going to design this kind of conducive environment at institute level where student can improve upon. So in the time to come, when students, when more Z generation student comes at institute level, we need a system where assessment is happening all the day around, and there is no spoon feeding of information at institute level. The students are learning something by the use of activity based classes only. Another important thing that I would like to highlight, that whenever we are designing assessment tools or evaluation tools at institute level, we need to think upon that it is not only the cognitive and psychomotor skill on which we are working. As an educational institution, we are also working on the behavioral part of the student. So when the teacher is designing any assessment activity for the student, that activity must be target specific activity. Target specific activity means what is my purpose to assign this particular activity to the student. So there are variety of learners available with me in my class. Their level of performance also varies. So there may be students who are very good when it comes to the submission of a project activity. There may be students who are very good when it comes to the completion of laboratory experiment. There may be students who are very good when it comes to the submission of a written assignment. There may be students who are very good when the teacher is organizing a discussion based classes. So every student in your class is unique. They have unique capabilities available with them. It is the teacher who is going to design tasks for the student so that they can capture the needs of all the students available in the class, and at the same time they can develop different abilities among students also. So when we are using advanced evaluation and assessment tool, the teacher need to think upon that these tools help my student to explore more of their capabilities, and they are able to get engaged with this that kind of a learning environment where they can do something in the presence of the faculty, and at the same time they become independent learners and find out their way of learning. So one such tool that help us to design these kind of assessment practices is rubric. Rubric is again a Latin word. The meaning of this particular verb is red earth for coloring. So when we are designing a rubric sheet, what is the base? On the basis of what we are going to design these assessment criterias. So already informed to all of you that on Google Classrooms, a rubric format is embedded, and any faculty can design that rubric criteria. But at the same time, it is very true that many of the teachers are downloading rubric sheets available on different internet website and using those rubric sheet for their class student. That is not right. The level of the student may be different, their curriculum may be different, the practices followed at that institute may be different. We can take a hint of that from that rubric sheet, but when it comes to design of a rubric sheet, you need to consider what are the different learning outcomes that is designed by you for that particular subject. So after mapping POs, CEOs, the teacher is going to design different learning outcomes. And when the teacher is designing different learning outcome, the nature of the subject and the level of the students also comes in picture. When the teacher is designing learning outcome, the teacher is also going to evaluate that what kind of resources, what kind of facilities available with the student along with the faculty. So depending upon the kind of facilities available with us, depending upon the level nature of the subject, we are going to design different learning outcomes for our student, and based on those learning outcome we follow different assessment method. So say for example you want to conduct a laboratory examination. So for that laboratory examination, one component may be a performance test. So when it comes to the assessment method of laboratory investigation, the teacher will focus on four different parameters. One is the process evaluation, second is the product evaluation, third is the general behavior of the student, because in most of the laboratory practices students are working in groups. So they are interacting with each other, they are completing their activity within the group only. So behavior of the students also comes in picture. And at the end of every laboratory examination, there is compulsory viva voce given by the different universities and different board. So as per the learning outcome or as per the learning objective identified by the teacher is going to follow different kind of assessment method and assessment practices for the student, and based on those assessment method and practices, the scoring method is being defined. So, whenever we are designing a rubric as an evaluation and assessment tool for student performance, we need to think upon that what kind of relation available with me in terms of the learning outcomes of that particular subject throughout the semester, or for my class student, what are the different assessment practices I am going to utilize, and what will be the final scoring method or final evaluation method for my student. So why we are giving written assignment again and again to the student? One reason may be there is a 3 long hour examination the student need to complete at the end of semester for every subject. So we give them practice to write and write. Why there is a process evaluation in laboratory environment? Because in laboratory environment, student need to know, student must identify the kind of material, equipment, machinery available, and they need to know how to solve those practical problems. So there is a performance test specifically designed for laboratory environment, where the faculty from management group or management department is going to organize case study, group discussion, role play method of teaching to the student, because they want student to develop different kind of soft skills also along with the information related to the subject matter. So whatever your learning outcome is, the teacher is going to follow that assessment strategy, and based on the assessment method. So why we are selecting XYZ assessment method? Because we are preparing our students for final examination or final scoring method. So now comes to the rubric. So rubric is a scoring tool that explicitly represent the performance expectations for an assignment or piece of work. So there is a subjective term, that is performance expectations. So at departmental level, for a given activity, if there are 10 different faculty members available, there may be 20 different performance expectations related to that particular activity. So when it comes to defining the performance expectation for a given activity, the department need to decide for a specific activity what are the different things or what are the different factors that we are going to consider important for assessment and later on for evaluation practices. So when I'm saying performance expectation also depends upon the nature of the activity that is given to the student. And nowadays, the student demand clarity from the faculty that why the teacher is giving them XYZ activity for completion. If even if it is for internal evaluation purposes, the students are going to ask why I need to do this particular activity, or I'm not interested in written assignment. Give me an activity where I felt more engaged. So if there are performance expectation defined by the faculty also, the student at his or her level, he or she also thinking upon that why the teacher giving me this activity again and again, why not the teacher give me some research based activity, why the teacher is not involving me in some sort of a discussion, why the teacher is not creating an online platform where we can interact with each other, make our independent groups, and then we go through that information in detail. So when we are saying performance expectation for every activity that is given in the curriculum of the student for a given subject, as per the activity you need to decide at departmental level what can be the probable performance expectations related to this particular activity. So rubric is a scoring tool that explicitly represent the performance expectation for an assignment or a piece of work. So from this particular discussion, it is clear that whenever we are going to design a rubric sheet, the teacher need to prepare activity specification plan. So what we mean by activity specification plan means within that particular activity, what are the different things the student need to complete, or cover so that he or she can submit that activity on time. So my next question to all the candidates, before I ask question to all of you, is there any question from your side? Yes, any member, if you have any question. So Kavitha ma'am said when it comes to collect information or gather information as far as assessment activity is concerned, either they organize a short quiz, peer learning, make one student to explain to the other student. Dr. Bhuvneshwari R said audio assignment and video assignment, not only in the written form. So thank you very much ma'am for your input. Other than that, if you have any question, you are requested to kindly unmute and ask. So, Dr. Bhuvneshwari, when you said that you are giving audio assignments and video assignments to the student, my observation, what I have observed nowadays in student population, we as a faculty are in the habit of writing text messages. What the students of our class is doing nowadays, they are not at all interested. Many of them, few of them are writing also. Many of them are not interested in writing those long messages. Simply, they are recording messages and sending to each other. So, as a faculty, we also need to observe that in our student population, what are the different characteristics, how they are changing, what are their demands from that particular environment. So, one day I was interacting with the student and I'm asking that rather than writing a message that we all are habitual to, why you are recording videos and sending recording your audio messages and sending to even to the faculty and to the other student. And the simple response that I got from that particular candidate, that why to waste time when the technology offered me to record audio message where I can ask as many as questions I can within no time. So I found this response very accurate and appropriate, that if a WhatsApp providing me an opportunity to use audio recorded messages also, and in audio recorded messages with my friends, it is possible for me to do a longer chat rather than writing those long text messages. So it is very good for them if they are exploring technology and using the technology for their own comfort. So when we are saying now we are defining or we are designing an evaluation tool where performance expectations need to be defined by the teacher, so teacher need to observant enough that what is the demand of that particular student population. So I'm not saying that whatever they are demanding, we as a faculty going to give them, we are in line with that academic criteria, but at the same time, for whom we are assessing so that our students can improve upon. If I want my students to improve upon, I need to give them target specific activity. What we mean by target specific activity, as a teacher, I know their cognitive and psychomotor ability, but at the same time, suppose hypothetically, I suppose that student behavior is not good, the regularity in terms of submission of task is not there. So whenever I'm giving assessment or evaluation activity to my student at departmental level, I need to focus that it is not only the cognitive and psychomotor skill, it is also the affective domain for which we need to work. So when we set performance expectation, other than the subject matter also, for our student population, we need to think upon that what are the different parameters or what are the different attributes of their personality that we want to develop at departmental level. In institutions, technical institutions, when we said the development of different soft skills among student population, so at engineering institutions we do not have ample amount of time that we are going to organize many of the classes for our students for their personality development or for the development of different soft skill. It is the teacher who is going to develop those soft skills, those personality traits among student population when the teacher engage them in their other instructional classes. So what kind of activity I'm going to give to my student, it is not only catering the need of their cognitive and psychomotor domain, but at the same time how my student need to respond to a given situation. That is also the duty of us as a faculty. So whenever we are defining different performance expectation, we need to critically analyze where my students need to grow. So on that basis only we are going to define, or we are going to lay out the activity specification as per the activity assigned to them. So when we said there must be a relationship between learning outcome, assessment method, and scoring method, based on the learning outcomes, it may be skill related activity, it may be the actual performance of the student, it may be the product related performance, or it may be the general behavior of the student. So we can design rubric tool, or we can add dimensions to that rubric sheet depending upon the nature of the activity or LO defined by the teacher. Now the question arises, why Google is giving the facility, Google Classroom is giving the facility of rubric? Why not any another evaluation tool? We have quiz forms also. That why they have provided us the facility of a Google Classroom, sorry, in a Google Classroom, the facility of a rubric. So there must be a reason that why these kind of platforms are giving these kind of assessment tools. Because a simple example we take to answer this particular question is, say for example, for my mechanical engineering third semester student, when they enter at institute for a given semester, I simply assign them a simple activity, that is case study analysis, a case that is a broken engine part. And during that case study analysis, since the strength is only 26 students in the department, we divided that class into three different groups. And one group of the student, after completing that case study analysis, said yes, the engine is broken, and pointed out all the broken part, and they were right and stopped there. The second group of the student of that class said engine, agreed that engine was broken. They went on to say why it was broken, and maybe even said that what effect the broken part had on the rest that was not broken. So they extend their limit as far as case study analysis is concerned. And third group of the student come to me and said yes, the engine was broken. They went on to say how it was broken, pointed out all the broken part, also mentioned what effect the broken part had on the rest that was not broken, and even providing us a solution that how to fix it. So we divided our class student into three different groups, and three group have different kind of analysis for that particular case. First group presented ideas, so that is fundamental elements of dysfunction identified by that particular group. Second group providing us connection, so they said that why the engine was broken, and maybe even said what effect the broken part had on the rest that was not broken. So second group not only giving us ideas, but at the same time they are developing cause and effect inferences during that case study analysis. And third group of the student also providing us viable solution for the problem. So, from this case study analysis, it is clear to me that there are three categories of learner available with me in my class. Some are good, some are better, and some are excellent. So, it helped the faculty to identify that there are variety of learners available with us in our classes. So, for good students, I need to shift them to the better category. To better, I need to shift them to excellent category. And student who at present at the level of excellence, what are the different activities, or what are the target specific activities I'm going to give to these group of students throughout the semester. I'm not saying on a single day, but throughout the semester how I'm going to plan for different activities, that for excellent student also they have a chances to explore their potential further. So if I'm giving, if as a teacher I stuck that yes, there are good category student, I need to shift them to better, and to better category I need to shift them to excellent, then what will be the gain of those excellencies available in your class? So as a teacher we need to add variety, we need to give different variety of tasks to our student, so that they can explore more in your presence as a faculty. So from this particular part, it is clear that variation in the quality of the work received from the student that would make sense and help the faculty to understand. So at the end, when I'm giving these kind of activities to my student, it is a hint that whatever assessment practices we are following at institute level, this can be the probable final score of my class student. So what we are predicting the resulting spectrum of grade for the classroom assignments with the help of various assessment practices. And if as a teacher I come to know that there are the common kind of errors that is produced by my class student again and again, it means collectively I need to give them an activity, collectively I need to give them extra effort and my time so that we can work upon those common errors and students are able to improve upon. So when in the initial phase of the semester we are giving activities, assessment related activities to the student, we come to know that these can be the probable resulting spectrum of grade for the classroom assignment, or in final evaluation students will be able to do up to this level only, and accordingly we can plan and make certain instructional decisions so that all the students irrespective of their level, they are able to gain something out of that particular class. So when we are designing rubric tool and using these rubric tools for classroom assessment purposes and even for internal evaluation purposes, it provides us great consistency. So when a rubric basically is a written criteria that is available with the faculty, it is also available on the LMS facility of the institute. And if that facility is not available in the form of a hard copy, the criteria need to be distributed among students when the activity is assigned by the teacher. So student know that these are the parameter on which my teacher is going to evaluate me. Teacher knows that these are my limits. Up to these limits only I'm going to define the level of excellence or level of grades available in my class. So there is a grading consistency, and once the criteria is defined at departmental level, it reduces the time spent on grading by reducing the uncertainty of the faculty. The teacher can identify those skills or concepts that need more instructional time and student effort. So after identifying the different errors, it is clear to the faculty that where my student need to improve upon. So likewise, he or she can make certain instructional decisions. Rubric can help students monitor and assess their progress as they work towards clearly indicated goals. Say for example, initially we have taken an example of a presentation skill. Say for example, in a presentation skill, one of the student think that my teacher will give me maximum marks if my PowerPoint presentation are of a very good quality. So I will design those PowerPoint presentation very beautifully. I collect all kind of information or all kind of PowerPoint presentation available on different website, and then I make my own presentation in a very good manner. But as a teacher, my expectations may be the student can use a simple PowerPoint presentation, language clarity need to be there, and at the same time when the student is collecting information, it need to be from the authentic resources only, and student need to take part for the development of verbal explanation. And whenever any of the fellow student in a class asking question, the student who is presenting information must be able to respond. So my performance expectation is content knowledge need to be very high, whereas the student thinking that my teacher, since it's a presentation activity, my teacher will give me maximum marks or reward if my presentation slides are very good or very accurate. So we are at a different dimension, teacher and faculty thinking differently at that time. So present why I'm giving presentation skill, because I want my student to present or show appropriate verbal as well as non-verbal behavior. So that is why I am giving presentation skill. If it is a research based presentation activity, I want my student to explore information from authentic scientific resources and then go deeper into that information to develop understanding. So our performance expectation are not matching with the student performance expectation, and if the students are committing errors again and again, it is again clear to the faculty that this teaching method or this teaching media is not working. I need to shift. So when these criteria are available with the teacher and with the student, they are able to work clearly towards indicated goals. So on the screen, it's a standard format to design a rubric sheet. So when it comes to the design of the rubric sheet, the important part of that format is a task description. So when we said task description, it involves a performance of some sort by the student, and task can also take the form of overall behavior. So when we are saying overall behavior means cognitive, psychomotor and affective domain need to be considered by the teacher while designing any assessment criteria related to student performance. Say, for example, if it is a laboratory environment, participation in a group, use of the proper lab protocol, or behavioral expectation in that particular classroom need to be considered by the teacher. So, can I give a very little small activity to all of you? Yes, a very small activity to all of you. So the activities, think of any activity or any assignment that you need to give to your student and write a task description for that particular activity. Say, for example, if you select a presentation skill activity, write the task description of that presentation skill. I hope activity is clear. Select any of the activity of your choice that you want to give to your student and write description for that particular activity. I'm not saying, suppose if you're giving a written assignment, I'm not saying that write 3 or 4 questions for that written assignment. What I'm saying is, what are your expectations from that written assignment? Kindly describe that in a task description part of that rubric. I hope it is clear. So at,
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
so at 12:40 we will start with the discussion. So 5 minutes I am assigning for this particular activity. At 12:40 we will start with the discussion. Bhuvneshwari ma'am, but I was the activity was related to the description of that particular task. So what you're mentioning is the dimensions of that rubric sheet. So when you said presentation, or when in your class you announce that tomorrow will be your presentation, or day after tomorrow will be your presentation, what kind of announcement that you are going to make for your student? Or if you are going to give it in a written form, what task description you are going to give for that presentation activity? Any another member who is ready with this? 10 slides in PowerPoint presentation, 20 minutes time allotted for that presentation, 30 font size for a better view. Thank you very much, ma'am. Swati ma'am said, written as task is preparing a documentary on global warming. Task description, students are expected to collect information about global warming from the reliable sources. Students are expected to watch similar kind of video and expected to study the report regarding pollution and causes of global warming. They are expected to go around the city and collect. Okay, it may be the video part of that particular activity. So thank you very much, both of you. Rightly added by Bhuvneshwari ma'am, and another candidate is Swati ma'am, I think. Yeah, Bhuvneshwari ma'am and Swati ma'am, very rightly added by you. When we said task description, specifically on a rubric sheet, the teacher need to give a specific performance to the students, clarify that what he or she need to do in that particular activity, up to what extent they are able to complete that activity within stipulated time period. So when we said why we are mentioning that in a stipulated time period, say for example, if I said to my student that you need to prepare a presentation just for 5 minutes and you need to collect information from the last 30 year, it is clear to me as a faculty that in a 5 minutes of presentation where my student need to present information from the last 30 year, the student need to use images, the student need to use graphs, the student need to use maps, the student need to use other visual aid also, because these are the probable aids with the help of which student can present 30 years of information within 5 minutes. So I specifically mentioned to my class student that you need not to overload the PowerPoint presentation just by copy pasting information again and again. Within 5 minutes, you can collect information from different resources and provide a synthesization of that particular information, and it must be easy for the audiences also to link with that particular information. So that is my task description. Whereas Bhuvneshwari ma'am said it is not only the time limit that he or she defined for that particular presentation, but along with that he also focused upon the structure of the presentation, font size of those slides, and even another Swati ma'am said video, student need to watch videos, student need to collect videos from the nearby locality, student need to collect information from authentic sources. So three different faculty members giving input, their performance expectations are different. So that is why for an activity that is given by the teacher to the student, the task description must be very clear, that student must be able to understand up to what extent I need to complete that activity. Otherwise, what happened, for 5 minutes of presentation, student may take 1 to 2 hours for the design of that slides, but I need only one slide that is in a graphical form only. So they need to spend more time with the information collected so that they come up with that one slide rather than designing 20 different slides to make a presentation. So a task description depending upon the nature of the activity assigned by the teacher and what is your expectations as a faculty as per the learning outcome, course outcome, and program outcome of your branch of specialization. The next thing that we need to consider in a rubric is the scale. Scale will describe how well or how poorly. So we need to think upon the continuum, that how well or how poorly any given task has been performed. So it can be qualitative, it can be quantitative. If you are using rubric sheet for classroom assessment purposes, try to use positive kind of vocabulary in the scales used. So if you are using qualitative terms, it can be mastery, partial mastery, progressing, or emerging. It must be non-judgmental and non-competitive language. High level, middle level, beginning level are the commonly used label. But again, I will say that it totally dependent upon for which group you are going to use this particular scale. If it is for presentation skill for master level student or presentation skill for PhD level student, I'm not going to write emerging. I'm simply going to write fail. I'm not going to write needs improvement. I'm simply saying poor performance, because as per the level of the student, I need to define the length of that particular scale. But in a classroom assessment activities, try to use a positive kind of vocabulary. So that kind of language help us more to engage our students in the process of teaching learning. So we have discussed the scale and we have discussed the task description, and the third part of any rubric sheet is the dimension. Dimensions are nothing but the activity specification designed by the faculty for that activity, that in how many steps the activity can be completed by the student. So when we said dimension, the description of the dimension need to be there. When I'm saying excellence level, or suppose I'm saying excellence level in terms of communication skill, so what we mean by excellence level in communication skill, when I'm saying you need improvement in terms of communication skill, what can be the probable behavior or what can be the probable communication skill displayed by that particular student during presentation. Based on the performance, I'm going to give remarks to the student. So description of dimension need to be there. So when it comes to the dimension, breaking up an assignment into distinct dimension lead to a kind of task analysis with all the components of the task is clearly identified. Say for example, go to your chat box and check that when in the last activity, Dr. Bhuvneshwari ma'am written as, let me go to that particular message. She written as timing of the presentation verbal, very formal jargon should be used, example stories can be used to explain, but should stick to the core of the topic. Non-verbal behavior need to be appropriate by the student. So these are nothing but the dimensions of that presentation skill. So when we are saying description of that particular dimension, the teacher need to think upon up to the level of excellency or up to the level of needs improvement, what are the different parameters that the individual need to cover in that particular uh, dimension. Another thing that we need to consider is weightage to different dimensions. So when it comes to the weightage to different dimension, depending upon the points awarded to that particular activity, you need to think upon what dimension is of most important. Likewise, we need to give weightage to those different dimensions. Say knowledge understanding 20 point, thinking inquiry 30 point, communication only 20, use of visual aid 20 point, and presentation skill shown by the candidate is 10 points. So again, it is at departmental level we are going to decide as per the nature of the activity that how much weightage we need to give to that particular activity. So when it comes to the description of the dimension, a rubric should contain at least a description or the highest level of performance in that particular dimension. But the question arises when I'm saying, let me go to the slide of scales. When I'm saying mastery, say I'm using the term mastery as a scale and dimension selected is communication skill. Now I need to define what I meant by this term mastery. Is it possible for my third semester student to show the level of excellence, higher level of performance as far as communication skills is concerned? So that candidate is very good in terms of verbal as well as non-verbal behavior. Third semester student, can I expect this kind of performance from the first semester student to whom I can say mastery in terms of communication skill? For my seventh semester student, can I say that XYZ candidate is able to display mastery in communication skill? So when we say now subjective performance expectation is a subjective verb. So when I'm saying mastery, when I'm saying high level, when I'm saying excellence, it is as per the level of the student. So maybe at departmental level, presentation skill is one rubric sheet that we have prepared, and the scale decided as excellent, average, good, average, needs improvement. As per the level of the student, we can change the nature of the scale. So when I'm defining excellence level for my third semester student, that description vary as compared to the excellence level of my seventh semester student. So we need to be fair enough. As per the level of the student, we need to give descriptions to the different dimension. Another example is initially we have discussed the case study related to broken engine. That case study is given in classroom as an assessment practice only. So in that rubric sheet that we have prepared, there are only two dimension, clarity and application, and divided the scale into three parts. The scale is quantitative as well as qualitative by nature also. So we can use both. So for clarity, 5 points given, application 5 point given, and we have provided description against the three different scale related to the dimensions classify. Another important thing that we need to consider when we are designing rubric is how many dimensions in a given activity. So as per the literature in this particular field, they are saying the optimum size of dimension in a given rubric sheet need to be 5 to 6. More number of dimension, it is difficult for the teacher to complete that assessment in a stipulated time period. And if there are more number of dimension, there are chances that teacher is giving weightage to the different dimensions again and again covered under different labels. Say for example, I'm saying excellence in communication skill, when I'm verbally explaining something, at that time only you as a faculty able to evaluate my communication skills. So what kind of nonverbal behavior is there, what kind of explanation is there. So we all critically analyze to the information delivered by all of us. So when I'm verbally explaining something, at the same time you are evaluating my non-verbal behavior also. So for my presentation skill evaluation, my rubric sheet need not to carry two different dimension. One is verbal communication, other is non-verbal communication. Simply club those dimension and give a simple label, that is communication skill. And when you are defining scales for that rubric sheet, in the scales, verbal as well as non-verbal need to be in the description part. So minimal the dimension, it is easy for the teacher to calculate. So I'm not going into the details of all kind of rubric sheet. So on the screen there is one rubric sheet displayed for all of you, and this particular rubric sheet I was using for my students as far as their seminar activity is concerned. So we have decided assessment parameter as presentation skill, information collected, utilization of different visual aid, class participation. So in this rubric sheet, I have used utilization of different visual aid. So if resources are not available in your classroom, you can skip this particular dimension. We have all kind of facilities available in our institute, in our classrooms. We need to utilize all kind of visual aids, even if the student is presenting that information. So dimension decided, scale as excellent, good, fair, and poor, because this is for master level student. So we are writing it as poor, less than 40% of the marks, and points awarded with the percentage. If it is used for internal evaluation scoring purposes, so we can add the points also, and we can give weightage to the different dimensions also. So in description, now see, when I'm saying presentation skill, excellent student will hold attention of entire audiences with the use of direct eye contact, seldom looking at notes, and excellence in terms of communication skill, speaks with voice modulation to maintain audience interest, and emphasize key points by making best utilization of the time. When I'm saying poor category student, so that student display minimal eye contact with the audience while reading mostly from the notes and slides, speaks in uneven volume with little or no inflection. Fair category student will display less eye contact, reading partially from notes and slides, so it is an observable behavior the faculty can easily observe, speak in uneven volume, and not very good in terms of communication skill. So this is how we provide description to the different dimension. Another example I have taken from the module number 6, that is developed by NITTTR Chennai. So in that particular module covered under AICT NINET, there is one rubric sheet provided by Dr. Nidhi on teaching effectiveness. So sir has defined different dimensions for that rubric sheet as knowledge in the subject, communication skill, dress code, punctuality, and so on, and scale decided as 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then for the teaching effectiveness, given weightage to the different dimensions. So the different weightage given as 2 marks for knowledge in subject, for communication 2 marks, dress code 1 mark, friendliness 0.5 marks, assignment preparation by the faculty 2 marks. So how to score the rubric sheet? Scale was 4, weightage given 2, 4 into 2, 8. Scale selected as 3 by the higher authority as far as evaluation of teaching effectiveness is concerned, maybe for communication skill weightage given was 2, so 3 into 2, 6. Punctuality scale value 4, weightage given 1, 4. Assignment friendliness was 0.5, scale selected was a 4, so 1.5. So at the end, the weightage calculated as 40.5 out of 46. So maybe the teaching effectiveness is equal to 88%. So this is how we give weightage to the different dimensions, and we calculate the criteria as defined by that rubric sheet. So there may be different types of rubric sheet the teacher can prepare. It is task specific, developmental kind of rubric, holistic kind of a rubric sheet, depending upon what kind of assessment practices you are going to give to your student. But at the last of this particular session, I would like to highlight that when it comes to constructing a rubric sheet, These are the four different parameters or the factor stages that we need to consider. One is the reflecting stage. Reflecting means, as per the learning outcomes, we need to reflect upon that is this task or activity going to add something for the achievement of that learning outcome. If yes, go that activity to the give that activity to the student. Listing stage, what the student need to do for the completion of that particular activity. What are the different stages where the student need to pass on for the completion of that particular activity. After listing down the different stages or the different steps the student need to perform for the completion of that activity, grouping and labeling. Grouping and labeling means, is there any dimension or dimensions that we can club together? If we are clubbing different things or the different activities, what will be the title of that particular dimension? Last part, application. After doing this particular assessment, what is new that I'm going to add something as far as student performance is concerned, or I'm just passing the time of my student and fulfilling the criteria laid down by university and board without giving much thought to that particular activity. So application need to be thought of, that what my student will be able to achieve after the completion of this particular activity. So on that basis only we are going to define different performance expectation as far as task description is concerned. So why rubrics are useful? Because it is a written criteria available with the department, with the faculty, with the student, displayed on the website of the institute or on the LMS facility available. Even the hard copy of the rubric sheet can be distributed among class students for a given activity. So it provides a very clear and transparent picture. Students are performing most of the time in their own personal time the different tasks or assignments given by the teacher. So it is a very honest and supportive type of a feedback tool that we are designing at departmental level, and we are giving timely to the students so that when they are preparing for that particular activity, they practically think upon that if I want to shift my level from C to B, what are the different dimensions on which I need to focus a lot, and what are the different dimensions for which I need to work hard to improve upon. So it focused on learning. So we are giving marks or grades to the student not on the basis of their face value, but on the basis of the criteria defined at departmental level. So it create a very enabling environment of learning at institute level. So checklist to design an effective rubric. Does the rubric relate to the outcome being measured? If the assessment is to address critical thinking skill, does the rubric reflect that? Does it cover the important dimension of the student performance? Say, for example, I prepared a rubric sheet for laboratory investigation and I'm not going to add behavior of the student. So that rubric sheet is not accurate. I need to think upon that what are the different dimensions of the student performance that need to be the part of that assessment criteria. Do the criteria reflect current conception of excellence in the field? Does the rubric reflect what you emphasize in your teaching? So your assessment must be related with your teaching activities only. Does the highest scale point represent a truly exemplary performance or product? Are the dimensions or scales well defined? Is it clear to everyone what each scale measure? Is there a clear basis for assigning scores at each scale point? Is it clear exactly what a student need to do to get a score at each scale point? And most importantly, the department need to think upon that, is the rubric fair and free from biases, or does the rubric reward or penalize the student based on the scale unrelated to the outcome being measured? So this is all about that we want to um, discuss with all of you as far as rubric is concerned. So at last, Albert Einstein said, I never teach my student and only provide the conditions in which they can learn. So with this note, I end up my session over here. If you have any question, you are requested to kindly unmute and ask.